I very rarely back against Canelo Alvarez, but it would not surprise me at all if Crawford won that fight.
Matchroom boss Eddie Hearn could not hide his excitement after spending a day inside Terence "Bud" Crawford's training camp, and his verdict was crystal clear. The undisputed welterweight king is looking downright dangerous. That excitement only grew after Canelo's underwhelming performance against William Skull. Hearn pointed out that it was not just Canelo's inability to cut off the ring, it was a sign of age catching up. According to Hearn, Canelo has reached the twilight stage of his career and could be nearing retirement.
Do you see that fight now differently based on how Canelo performed against Skull, Eddie?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah? Oh, wow.
It wasn't just the fact that he couldn't cut the ring off. I just feel like the timing now, the age, Canelo is amazing. I mean, not just because of his ability and what he's accomplished. He still has the desire for those training camps and those fights, but I just feel like that desire might be fading a little bit. Not because of his love, but just because of age and life.
In fact, he admitted that following the Skull fight, he was almost certain Canelo would hang up the gloves before ever stepping in with Crawford. However, Hearn believes facing Crawford might be the one fight capable of reigniting Canelo's fire.
Don't get me wrong, the Crawford fight will definitely get him up for it. But I was actually watching that fight thinking I wouldn't be surprised if he retired and actually didn't fight Crawford, because I don't think he'll want to lose to Crawford, a much smaller guy, just because he's at the end of the road. But the fight's so big and the money's so big, he's gonna have to take it. I bet he retires after that fight.
But some people will criticise Canelo for not doing more in the Skull fight or in the Charlo fight or stepping on these opponents. He's also going, I'm winning comfortably, I'm not getting hit, I'm not affecting my body, give me my money, thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? So, and I don't blame him for that. But the thing is, when you get the fighters at the right time, and that is a reflection of their age as well, they're more, say, ballsy, but they're more, and might be naive, but they're more willing to go in there and have a war.
Adding more intrigue to the moment, Hearn revealed that he was seated alongside Terence Crawford during Canelo Alvarez's bout with William Skull, and it was in that very moment that he thought that he believes Crawford would beat Canelo. Hearn admitted that while both men are the same age, Crawford comes across as the younger, fresher, sharper, more explosive fighter. The contrast in energy and movement between the two was evident to Hearn, reinforcing his belief that Crawford has what it takes to topple the Mexican icon in a potential blockbuster clash.
Because he's not the fighter he was. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of pride for those guys. So he's made a huge amount of money. I don't know, look, maybe it was just fighting in Saudi, the negative opponent, all this kind of stuff. But I was sitting next to Bud for the whole fight, and I was thinking, I think you'll probably beat him. You know? Wow. Don't get me wrong, it's a very tough fight for both. Great fight. But the movement of Terence Crawford and the ring IQ, and he looks like, in my opinion, the younger, fresher fighter, even though they're both, 36 and 38? It's amazing. But Bud is watching that fight going, oh, I'll just sit his ring IQ is incredible and his belief's incredible. He's watching that fight going, I know exactly how to beat him. Now, doing it is different. And the weight disparity, of course, is going to be a problem. But I actually think he's turned into the favourite.
Looking back at Crawford's journey, Eddie pointed out that Terence never had the opportunity to build the kind of resume expected from a fighter of his caliber, not because opponents avoided him, but because he simply never got those kinds of matchups. Hearn suggested that a major reason for this was the lackluster promotional push during Crawford's earlier years, subtly criticizing Bob Arum for not doing a spectacular job in elevating Crawford's profile or securing the high-profile opponents needed to match his elite skill set.
Crawford's 36, 35, 30, 37, you know? And by the way, he's an outstanding fighter, but the problem is with Bud, and I said this to him on the flight, I said, you never got the chance to build an amazing resume because there was no one for you to fight.
Like, and I was like winding him up. I said, tell me your best win. And he's like, Ricky Burns. That's what he said. Ricky Burns is my fighter, 3-division world champion. But I said, he was a great fighter, but he's not going to go down in history, Ricky Burns, as like an all-time great. You're telling me that was your best win? Well, Errol Spence, but even he acknowledges that Errol Spence, you know, was probably a little bit... And Bud could beat all the greats, but he never really got the chance, and that's why this fight's really important. He was never really built or promoted correctly, and then his purses, because he was so good, and because he was winning everything, were going up and up and up, and then Bob looks at it and goes, we need to put him on pay-per-view, because ESPN, or wherever it is at the time, aren't paying them the rights fees to pay what this guy wants. So we roll the dice on pay-per-view, and it flops. Right? The numbers are much better.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But when he fights Jeff Hearn, when he fights Posto, when he fights Amir Khan, when he fights Kell Brook...
Are those fights, were those fights ever really going to sell?
Not really, but what happens? But you're rolling the dice, because if you don't hit the numbers, someone's got to make up the deficit on the minimum. And that will be Bob, right? So when Terence does his deal to fight Kell Brook or Amir Khan, he says, yeah, I want 3 million, 4 million minimum guarantee, plus I want my upside on the pay-per-view over 150. It ends up doing 60,000 buys, and the break-even point is 125 for Top Rank, and they're in for 3 million. And then Bob looks at it and goes absolutely berserk, and from that day, Bob goes, he's a waste of money. I think he's the fresher guy in there, and I very rarely back against Canelo Alvarez, but it would not surprise me at all if Crawford won that fight.
However, that said, it was Canelo's lackluster performance against William Skull that forced Eddie Hearn to rethink his stance on a potential clash with Terence Crawford. Earlier, when the fight was first discussed, Hearn had dismissed the idea, expressing doubts that Crawford could even make the weight and claiming he'd be massively undersized compared to Canelo.
How is Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
Yeah, I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35. 35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many. And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. But you have to use your movement. If you're Terence Crawford in that fight, the last thing you want to do is stand and trade. He'd be moving a lot in that fight, trust me. I'm not saying he'd be running, but he would be moving a lot. Of course, that's the way to beat him. I don't think so. I think that it's much too much weight for Terence, you know. His style was difficult. And, you know, people will say it was a poor performance from Terence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Madrimov, you know. I think 168 is much too big for Terence, but like he said, if the money's right, he'll fight.
Echoing Hearn's growing faith in Crawford, Andre Ward confidently picked Terence Crawford in a potential showdown with Canelo, stating he is not picking anyone against Crawford right now. Ward emphasized that until someone proves they can break Crawford's will and keep him from finding a way to you, he sees no reason to bet against him.
I'm going with Terence Crawford, you know. Big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can beat him.
Adding to the conversation, Teddy Atlas offered high praise for both fighters while weighing in on the debate. He acknowledged that Crawford has not faced the kind of resume fans typically want to see, but emphasized that greatness is not just built on opponents. It is something you either have or you do not. While calling Canelo a tremendous fighter with undeniable skill, Atlas highlighted that Crawford's greatness lies in his desire, his mindset, and his very makeup.
Canelo's really good. But I think Crawford is special. I know he hasn't fought the resume everyone wants, but you have that or you don't have that ingredient. I think he has it. Canelo's really good. He's tremendous. But could he be a tiny bit overrated? The greatness is within Crawford. It's in his desire, it's in his mind, it's in his makeup, where he came from. I know he's moving up in weight class, can he carry it? You know, but those intangibles.
On the other hand, Shakur Stevenson made his stance crystal clear. He believes Terence Crawford will dominate. While giving Canelo credit as a great fighter, Stevenson sees Crawford as having every tool needed to win. He pushed back on the weight narrative that's been dominating the conversation, insisting that too much emphasis is being placed on size rather than skill.
I think Bud gonna cook Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, you know, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him.
You don't think the weight difference is gonna be too big of an advantage?
I think y'all make that something, you know, in certain fights,
Boxing make us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would like apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's like physically kind of big, but like height-wise, he's kind of small. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if Canelo gets to acting out of line and not understanding that Bud could crack too. So if they do fight, I told you I think that Bud outboxes him. I think he's going to use his leg. Keep Canelo on the outside and make it an easy night. This story, I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. I was in the gym. I want to say I was getting ready for Chris Diaz or something, and he was sparring like a heavyweight fighter. I'm looking, I'm type nervous for him. I'm like, why is he in the ring with this big old dude? And, man, I swear he done caught this dude on the chin. Boom! Dude, wobbling all around the ring. I'm like, what the f***? How is this dude this strong? But it's like, honestly, Bud is very strong. A lot of people don't realize how strong he is as a fighter. And his punching power could carry through the weight classes.
Meanwhile, Sugar Ray Leonard added a timeless perspective to the conversation, stating that in a fight of this magnitude, it is not just about skill or strategy, but it is about who wants it more. He emphasized that the fighter's spirit, heart, and will to win often determine the outcome when elite fighters collide. He stated that if the burning desire is there, then victory shall follow.
Whoever wants to win will win. You know what I mean? I'm not being funny. Whoever wants to win will win.
The will overcomes everything. That's how you do it. I appreciate you. Great seeing you so much.
I mean, that's true. But you know what? There's always a way. Put it that there's always a way. There's always a way to win.
Providing a different angle, Kyrone Davis, being one of the few fighters to have shared the ring with both Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford during training, offered a unique perspective on the potential showdown. Reflecting on his experience, Davis said that every time you step in with fighters of that caliber, you gain invaluable knowledge and sharpen your game. He acknowledged that Crawford would be going through an adjustment phase moving up to the 168-pound division, which adds another layer to the challenge. Davis expects the fight to be a high-level chess match, filled with strategic nuance and elite skill, but when pressed for a pick, he leaned toward Canelo, citing the weight disparity as the deciding factor.
Anytime you spar with elite-level guys, you know, you learn something from them, and you gain experience. You know, I've been in the ring with Canelo Alvarez, as you said. I've been in the ring with Atlanti Laura. I've been in the ring with Triple G. I've been in the ring with Adrian Broner. I've been in the ring with Daniel Jacobs. I've been in the ring with Caleb Plant and Julian Williams, and I've been in the ring with almost everybody in the game that's been somebody. Preparation is going to definitely be everything. Crawford adjusting to the 168-pound division. I know he's been sitting at a heavier weight for a while, but like, you know, he's been showing his training and stuff. So that's definitely going to help him. Canelo's experience, but then you got Crawford, got great experience as well. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a good chess match. I expect a great fight. If I had to favor somebody, I would just pick Canelo because just because of the weight disparity. Canelo is naturally like sits really well at 168. And it's just always tough for a guy to come to 168 and come from that many weight classes up and do something like that. If he does it, you know, if anybody could do it, it'll be Terence Crawford.
That sentiment was echoed by veteran trainer Abel Sanchez. He argued that the fight is physically mismatched. While he acknowledges that Crawford will make the weight and likely step into the ring at around 163 pounds, he insists that size remains a major factor. He emphasizes that Canelo is a naturally bigger fighter who has consistently faced and absorbed shots from true super middleweights and light heavyweights. In Sanchez's view, no matter how skilled Crawford is, the sheer physicality of Canelo will eventually take over.
Yeah, it's two different people. Yes, Crawford will gain the weight. Yes, he will be probably around 160, 162, 63 in fight time. But Canelo's a bigger man. Canelo is taking shots from big guys, and nobody has done anything to him. So I don't think this fight. I don't think, I've said it all along. I don't think this fight should happen. But the money was there for both of them, so it's being made, but it's not a fight that I would pay to see.
An emphatic victory from Canelo, do you think that he'll stop Terence Crawford?
I think so. I think so, yes. And it's not because Terence is not talented. Terence is a talented fighter. It's just that you're talking about a big man who's used to fighting those big guys. Eventually, he will catch Crawford. Eventually, he will and punish Crawford and hurt him.
In response to the size concerns, Terence Crawford voiced his frustration toward critics, claiming that weight would not be an issue against Canelo. He reminded everyone that when Canelo moved up in weight, he lost, but when he himself made the jump, he won. For Crawford, the difference is not just about pounds on the scale, it's about skill, adaptability, and winning mentality.
We all know what Canelo brings to the table. We all know that Canelo went up to 175. We all know that. But we don't know how Crawford can compete with Canelo. We don't know. So we know what to expect when we see Canelo come into the ring and when Canelo fights, but we don't know what to expect when we see Crawford, because we never seen Crawford at this weight before.
They talk all the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that, Canelo.
You hear the media, when you hear the experts talk, you always hear all of them say, you never seen a smaller great fighter beat a big great fighter. You know, so just hearing just all the things that surrounded behind the talks of Crawford going up to fight Canelo is intriguing. Yeah.
Terence Crawford further added fuel to the fire shortly after by uploading a video of himself shadowboxing, a clear signal that preparations for a potential clash with Canelo Alvarez are already underway. Sharp, focused, and explosive in the clip, Crawford looked every bit like a man ready to step up and make history at 168. Backing Crawford's view, Roy Jones Jr. dismissed weight as the deciding factor. For Jones, the fight would not come down to size, but to strategy. He believes Canelo has what it takes to win, but only if he sticks to the right game plan.
The weight won't be the factor. The factor will be how Canelo chooses to make the fight. If Canelo comes out there what Canelo should do, Canelo wins the fight. If Canelo comes out and does what he shouldn't do, Crawford wins the fight. Control the center of the ring. If Crawford is allowed to control the center, he'll win.
Outside the world of boxing, NFL legend Antonio Gates weighed in on the potential Crawford versus Canelo showdown, backing Terence Crawford to show up in top shape for the challenge. Gates acknowledged Crawford's skill set, pointing out that he's sharp enough to outpoint Canelo over the distance. While he did admit that Canelo's power would pose a serious threat, Gates ultimately leaned toward Crawford.
Terence Crawford, Canelo.
Yeah, I believe Terence Crawford is going to be in top shape. And I believe he's good enough to outpoint Canelo, but I believe the power would be a challenge, if you will. So I'm gonna say Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford?
Because I think Terence Crawford is the best boxer in the world.
Adding even more buzz, NFL star Max Crosby, being a fan, called the potential Canelo versus Crawford showdown an absolute dogfight. He leaned toward Canelo due to his size advantage. Crosby ultimately predicted a narrow split decision win for Canelo, expecting a highly competitive battle.
That's almost impossible to answer. That's going to be an absolute dogfight. I have to go Canelo. I think he's a little bit bigger, and I think that's going to work to his advantage, but that'll be one of the best fights, period.
Knockout or decision?
Decision. I think it might be a split.
As the buzz around a potential Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez showdown intensifies, opinions remain sharply divided across the boxing world and beyond. With legends, analysts, and even NFL stars weighing in, the fight promises more than just fireworks. It's a collision of legacy, skill, and will. One thing's for sure, if it happens, the world will be watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fight updates. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest boxing news. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.